Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's time for the Brown Sports Bag from the heart of the Barrens, a weekly local sports machine. Alongside John Butler, here's your host, James Brown.
Well, John, we're back again this week. We're going to talk a little sports, local sports, a little non-local sports. We got quite a bit of local sports to cover, despite the fact that last week was fall break. Golf didn't take the week off. Every other sport did, and but they picked up again this week. So we're going to start off talking about golf then, because it was a state tournament time in the Bluegrass Commonwealth, or why do they call it the Bluegrass State, but then it's Commonwealth? That kind of throws me off sometimes. Anyway, it should be a Bluegrass Commonwealth, should it not? You don't have an opinion on that?
I do not have an opinion.
All right. That's just a former outsider's perspective, I suppose.
I think Kentucky's one of two Commonwealths.
The other being Virginia.
That's correct.
Yeah. Hey, look at us. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the state golf tournament. Last week, we got to mention the fact that the girls were playing on Tuesday and Wednesday last week, and it was the Glasgow Scotties team, Lady Scotties team, and Landry Steenbergen from Barren County. And then we had a couple of boys players who were going to be playing on Friday and hopefully Saturday. That was Jamison Corbin from Barren County and then Bo Shelton from Glasgow. Let's start with the girls. I talked to a couple of folks kind of at the end of the two rounds of the state golf tournament. The upside was all of Glasgow's players made the cut. They were going to. They were a team. And then Landry Steenbergen made the cut. I think she shot her best round of the year and maybe her career in the first day. She shot an 82 on that first day to make the cut. So, that was really good for her senior year. Plus, Glasgow had four seniors. Their fifth senior, Avery Grace Tao, didn't get to play because she was injured in the region, so she didn't get to play in the state tournament. So that's 5/6 seniors that basically led the way for the two schools this year. And it was a good way for them to go out. But back to this real quick. I talked to a number of folks. The Glasgow Lady Scotties, they won the region like they should. They didn't shoot the score they wanted to. They really struggled a bit overall at state. I'm sure they didn't finish quite the way they wanted to.
Finished seventh, right?
Yeah, tied for seventh is what it was.
I think they had an outside chance at top five for sure, right, if they played well?
Yeah, they had a couple of rounds. Now, look, Marshall County ended up just killing everybody.
Yeah, they were back-to-back.
Yeah, but they had a couple of rounds during the year that would have put them in that top three kind of area with Madison Central, I think it was, and Sacred Heart. They had some rounds through the year that said that they could be one of the top 3-4 teams in the state. But like I just said, they didn't shoot the way they wanted to in the regional. They followed that up. They didn't shoot the way they wanted to in the state. I don't know if they were fatigued. I kind of felt like both in the region and that first day at the state was the tightest I've seen them all year.
Yeah, sometimes it does, pressure. Sometimes with seniors, that experience really helps them deal with the stress and pressure. And sometimes with seniors, it can also be, that this is my last go-around and people tighten up. Now, I don't know what happened. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But it can go either way. Sometimes when you're really young, you just go out there and play. You don't know anything.
Right.
You just throw it out there and we'll see what happens. And other times, inexperience hurts you. Mm-hmm. So it can go either way. But, listen, it's they had a wonderful year.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful careers.
Wonderful careers. And, getting to the state, I think it's back-to-back years. No, it's their first time they've been. South won was the previous year, but still, that was a heck of an accomplishment. I'm sure they wish they'd played better, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and the thing is that on the day two, I think they all played better than they did on day one, which
probably
is
relaxed.
Why I go.
Yeah, probably relaxed. Yeah,
because I tell you, a lot of times when I saw them playing in tournaments during the year, all those four girls, Nina McMurtry, Bailey Birdsell, Grayson Flatt, and Lena Harlow. A lot of times in the tournaments during the year, I felt like they were kind of loose and, they were not chatty, but chatty on a golf course kind of way, where people don't generally talk at all. They were kind of just loose and having fun with it. And I did feel like at the region and that first day at the state, they weren't as much. On day two, I felt like they were more normal for themselves in terms of their body language and that kind of stuff. And, I think they probably would all say the same thing, that maybe they had put too much pressure on themselves, as you mentioned, because this is the last go around their senior year. I'm sure through the years of you coaching basketball, you had teams that probably put too much pressure on themselves and didn't accomplish what they wanted to.
No question.
And then you probably had some teams that had put no pressure on themselves and did more than you ever expected them to.
That's exactly right, and it can go either way with seniors sometimes.
Yeah.
So but they shouldn't be disappointed. I mean, they like I said, congratulations, they were the regional champions and got to participate in the state tournament. That's great, and congratulations to Landry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 82 the first round, and she was. I think she had one maybe bad hole.
Yeah.
I was looking at her scores, but I mean that's some good playing down there. I mean, and came back with a 87 the next round.
Yeah, I believe that's
I mean
correct.
that was a good 2 days, and I know she was happy, and I'm sure she was happy. I didn't get a chance to talk to her, but I'm sure she was satisfied with it. And congratulations to her. It's a heck of a way to finish off your senior year.
Yeah, and real quick on the future of each of these programs. Glasgow did not have a whole bunch of younger players that were in the program this year.
They had to go find some.
Yeah, you have to find some. Barren, meanwhile, did have a bunch of younger players. Now, they're going to have to do better than they did this year because none of them really improved as the year went along in terms of their round scores, their averages. So we'll see how what they do in the off season because I don't know if any of them really play a second sport that I can think of off the top of my head. So we'll have to see what they do during the offseason, though, improve and that kind of stuff. But with a group of younger players, I mean, if they're focused and whatnot, Barren could come back next year and have another solid year, even losing Landry. I mean, they've lost 3 solid seniors in the last 2 years.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So those younger players will definitely have to step up. So, the future might be brighter for Barren than people realize.
It's one of the things you can control.
Yeah.
You can go out and play.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, golf is there's nobody but you and the ball and whatever's out in front of you,
Yeah, get out there and play.
Yeah, there's nobody defending the hole or whatever.
That's right.
So, although that might be interesting.
We need to add that to the rules,
Yeah, they need some wacky golf rules. But, yeah, so that looks good for them, and we'll see. I mean, Glasgow's had a program that is one of the better programs in the state through the years, over the last 20, 25 years. Won multiple state championships, late 90s, early 2000s, again in the mid-2000s. So I don't suspect it'll be down long, but I was talking to some folks before the season started, and just generally speaking, the numbers in girls golf has been down this year. And so, as you said, they're going to have to go find some people who want to get out there and compete, I guess. So we'll see how that pans out for them. Meanwhile, on the boys' side, completely different story because Jamison Corbin and Bo Shelton are both sophomores. And this is Jamison's second year in the state tournament. He made the cut this year for day 2. He was, I think, with about 5 or 6 holes to go, he was like 3 shots off the lead. Jamison was. He was right there.
I know he shot in the 70s the first round, didn't he?
Yeah, he ended up with 77.
That's good.
Yeah, and he was a 5 over 77, I believe, in that first round. The first round score, I think, ended up being 1 under was the leader. I think
71.
after the first round. Yeah. So yeah, he was right there. I think he had one bad hole maybe there on that back 9 that kind of messed up his score on that day 1. He came back, struggled a little bit on day 2. For him, not generally speaking, but just for his average rounds. But overall, had a good run there at the state tournament, John.
That's great. I mean, he's been good all year, and you talking about improving.
Mm-hmm.
He had a good freshman year, qualified.
Yep.
Backed it up with a better sophomore year, and the thing with guys too. I talked about it last week. He will get stronger.
Yeah.
And Bo Turner will get stronger, and when you get stronger in golf, you tend to hit it farther.
Yeah.
With improvement along the way, I mean, you could see both of those kids competing for regional titles next year.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I mean, Greenwood had the top 3 golfers, I think, in the region this year. I mean, they won the regional team title going away, and I believe the top 3.
They were top 3 in the state too.
Yeah, and they finished 3rd in the state, as a matter of fact. And I think one of those 3 was a senior, maybe 2. I'm not 100%. I know one of them was not.
But this is a sport where you can knock off 3, 4, 5 strokes in a year.
Yeah,
when you're developing as a player and so forth. I mean, it's possible that you can go from averaging 76 to 73, 74. I mean, it's possible to do that.
Yeah. And you mentioned growing. I mean, I don't know the rest of Jamison Corbin's family, but Bo Shelton's older brother was Tad Shelton, who's a big kid, played on the offensive line for Glasgow last year. And so, Bo, genetically speaking, if you just look at the rest of his family, he has a chance to be a much bigger kid.
Well, good. And Barron's entire team comes back.
Yeah. I mean, they only had the one senior, Evan Johnson. But,
right.
yeah, all the rest of them, Kyler Keeney and Braden Furlong and those guys.
Mason Trent.
Yeah, Mason Trent. They will all be back. And then I think Kellen Kidd was another.
Jameson's brother.
Yep. James Corbin.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He's on there. So, yeah, they've got 6 kids, and Coach Kelly just moved them around as the year went along, depending whomever shot the lowest round the previous one, he had moved them up to the 5 in whatever the next tournament was. So he was kind of making them compete with each other for those top 5 slots. There was no guarantee who was going to be there. And so, yeah, it's a good bet for Barron coming in the next season. And Glasgow's in the same boat. They had 2 seniors, Lewis Darst and Evan. I've certainly forgotten his last name, but anyway, Hutchinson, I think was his last name. So they were 2 seniors, but they were not in the top 5 either. So their top 5 will be back next year as well. They were all underclassmen.
Friendly rivalry, and they were close all year. They went back and forth, right?
Yes, they did. I think
Barron won the district, I believe.
Yeah, Barron won the district. Glasgow won. They split their 2 regular season matches.
Yeah.
I think Barron finished ahead of them in one of the tournaments, and I think Glasgow finished ahead in one of the other tournaments they played against each other in. So yeah, they were back and forth all year. It should be. I would say just walking into next year, looking at some of the other region scores, if going back to what you just said about knocking a stroke or 2 or maybe even 3 off of their average rounds this year, both Barron and Glasgow would have to be 2 of the teams that would be considered competitive for the regional title next year. Some of that depends on some of the graduation of other players from other schools. But I do think very often in high school, you'll see that plateau. And with the youth of those two squads, I don't know that you're going to see that plateau. I mean, they should all improve.
I agree.
But coming up next season.
Right.
So, it's something to look forward to. And going back to Jameson and Bo making that state tournament, that's something they can build off of, and that's something their teammates can build off of.
Absolutely.
So it's I think it's a great opportunity for both those programs going forward.
I agree.
Anything else about golf or whatever?
No, I mean, they knock on wood, for the state tournament, overall good weather. One day was little rain hit them. Yeah, sketchy for basically one day, but for the most part, good weather.
Yeah, ironically, I think that was the Tuesday. It came a gully washer over here, but it didn't rain at all over there. So I kept looking at the weather, and it kept inching back until it was like 5 p.m. And I'm like, hey, we're going to get it.
Had a little darkness issue on day one is the long round because you got people who slow things down. Let's just say that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you have players shooting 140, 150. It takes a while to play if you shoot 140. That's a lot of shots.
Yeah, there were a couple when I was looking at the recap. I was like, woo.
Holy cow.
That's a lot of time out there.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
I couldn't either.
All right, it's a Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's in Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Well, John, the district soccer, of course, played last weekend before the fall break. And so we knew but the regional draw wasn't until Friday. And so, they turned around and started playing the Region 4 soccer tournaments on Sunday. And so, we've got the draw and started the games. It was like one of those years where they have to play the basketball tournament real quick, like over at Diddle Arena.
Well, they probably could just draw and play on the same day.
Well, they probably could have. I mean, why not?
I don't know how much scouting is done, and I think with the top programs, there's some scouting.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much scouting is consistently done.
Well, and I was going to say a lot of the teams have played each other, but that's not exactly true. A lot of the teams have had enough footage on each other through the year.
Right.
And you're not really, I mean, your dudes who are going to be scoring your goals are going to be your dudes who are scoring your goals. And your dudes who are going to be playing defense, or your dudes who are going to be playing defense. there's not a whole lot you're going to be doing differently by the time you play.
Now, I think with proper practice and preparation, you can game plan against people who are prolific scorers.
Yes.
I mean, so I do think there's that planning that can take place.
Yeah, there are sets and things that you can work on that would take 2 or 3 days probably in practice to work on them and get them going, just like any other sport. But generally speaking, there's not a whole lot different from the time they do the draw, because if you think about it, they did the draw for both the girls and the boys at 11 a.m. on Friday. They played the first games at 3 p.m. on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, that gives you 36 hours or whatever to work on a game plan, but that's not really a whole lot of time to put in something new.
No, it's not. It's not. And if you're putting in something new, you're probably in trouble.
Yeah, you you are already on the wrong side of that situation to start with.
That's exactly right. So the girls were not much going. I mean, it's 10-0, 10-0 both games, correct?
Yeah. And so let's start out by talking about the Glasgow girls game, because they played at 3 o'clock over at Bowling Green Junior High School. For those who do not know, the girls tournament is being played there. It's on Campbell Lane. The soccer field is kind of to the right and behind the school. If you're coming down Campbell Lane going toward 31W, you want to take that first little drive that goes back there. It actually goes to the soccer field, and you don't have to go circle around the school or whatever. So if you're going over there today for the game, be sure that's where you got to go. Let's talk about that game. So Glasgow has struggled with numbers all year. I think Coach Zettelmoyer ended up with 14 players on the roster by the time the season was done. 2 of his seniors weren't there yesterday, and he had a younger player, I think she's a freshman, who arrived late to the game. So he started the game with 11 players. I mean, he was in a bad situation to start with. Logan County is
not exactly what you want for a regional tournament.
No, having subs, at least on some level in soccer, is rather important because there's no timeouts. You don't get to take a break and say, all right, come get some water. Let's draw something different. You're out there. The game is going. The only stoppages right now, the way they do it is whenever a goal is scored or there's a significant injury or whatever. So, you need to be able to have some substitutions because
it was hot yesterday.
And it was nice. It was a beautiful day, but, yes, it was warmer, muggier than probably people expected it to be at this time of year. So, it was a challenge for them to start with. They ended up losing the game 10-0.
To Logan, and Logan's not bad.
Yeah, and look, I will tell you this. Logan had at least 2 girls up top who were quality players. They were not – people may have seen Logan County play before in the past because, they generally do play Barren and Glasgow, during the regular season. And in the past, sometimes Logan has not looked any better than some of the other schools around here that are newer to the program, newer to playing soccer. But they have some quality players over there at the moment, and especially at the top. They had a girl who scored, I think she scored 5 goals in the game before it was all said and done. Solid player, difficult to defend to start with, big physical player, and she was a good athlete. And so, Glasgow is just behind the 8 ball with only the 11 players to start the game. And it's been a rough year. On the upside for them is I think they had 4 seniors. Yeah, they had 4 seniors. 2 of them didn't even play yesterday. So he has a bunch of younger players that are new to the program, and some of them are new to playing soccer. This is the first year they've really played, probably since youth league. And so, on the upside, he at least, as you like to say, if you're going to lose young. That's where they're starting, and hopefully that's something he can build on going forward. But they've got to get their numbers up. That's just the bottom line. He's got to find some way, or somebody has to do the thing I think it was Hadley Hammer did for Barren County about 6 or 7 years ago.
Recruit your own players from your own school.
That's right. Because Barren was in this same shape, I think, the year after Lee McFarland coached last time.
It's kind of the turnaround.
Yes,
to be honest with you, that really moved them up, to be honest with you. It's got to get to a point where it's cool to play soccer. Mm-hmm. That kids want to get out there and play and so forth.
Yeah, I believe that was Hadley Hammer. Went and recruited some of the basketball players, and they had played in youth league and that kind of stuff, and she's like, just come out here. Because, the discussion in the summer before that season was, will we even have enough players for a team?
Help us out.
Yeah. So it's going to be on some of these players to get their friends to come out there and play and get things going in the right direction.
It's a little off topic, but it's I just think it's important to say it's it's great in 2021 that kids, girls in this case, have opportunities to play so many sports. 40 years ago, I mean, you were limited. Let's go back 30 years ago. If you were a girl, you could play basketball, you could play slow pitch softball, run track, run cross country, and that's about it.
Yep.
No volleyball.
Yep.
No soccer. Some of these other sports didn't have them.
Yeah.
So the great thing is there's so many opportunities.
Right.
The negative part of that is it also makes it difficult at times to find enough quality players to fill these teams. That's the dilemma.
Right.
You know, you can fill them, but, you know, how good are you going to be? Because the pool of people playing sometimes is just not there.
Yeah.
So that's the catch, you know. Glasgow is big enough. Barron's obviously big enough to fill teams.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's frustrating not to have enough players or depth or whatever, you know, for that to happen.
Well, and then the other part of that is, as we've discussed on this show before, people deciding
to play just one.
Yeah, just play one sport. And a lot of times, I don't know that that's on the players coming up. I think that's on the parents who believe that that's what their kids need to do because somebody has convinced them that that's what their kids need to do.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is,
for their Division I scholarship.
Yeah, that's not,
right.
You know, what is it, 1%, 2%?
Highly unlikely. And what's strange about it is Division I coaches at the college level will tell you they are more impressed if you play multiple sports.
Right.
It's healthier. You work different muscles. You don't get burnt out.
Yep.
And you're probably less injury free.
Yep.
It's probably better for you injury wise because you're not using the same muscle all the time. So you become more well rounded.
Well, and you and I have pointed out before, we know at least a couple of coaches' kids who play 3 sports.
Yes.
You know, and we don't know many coaches' kids who only play a sport.
That's correct.
A lot of them play 2 or 3 sports, you know, because I believe that a lot of coaches came up playing 2 or 3 sports. And when I say coaches, I don't necessarily mean the travel ball ones and that kind of stuff. I'm talking about the ones that are in high school, coaching high school athletes. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So I know that was a little off topic, but I do think that's important. But also, it's important for the players to encourage their friends to get out there and hang out with them, if nothing else.
Right. Tonight in girls, Barron plays Clinton.
Yep.
Let's just be honest. I mean, Barron should easily handle them. I think
it'll probably be another 10-0 game.
Yeah, Clinton's won 1 game. I think they've only scored 7 total points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this should not be much of a game. You hate to say it, but it's just be real. And the other game is Greenwood and is it Franklin?
Yes. No, it's Todd County.
Todd County Central.
Yeah.
And Greenwood should handle them.
Yeah, probably another 10-0 game.
That's correct.
Yeah, so it's kind of lopsided at the moment.
But we wish Barron good luck, and they get by, which they should. They have a shot to compete against Greenwood. They did last year. It's close, 2-1.
Yeah,
and I do think the gap has gotten closer. I mean, Greenwood's still a heavy favorite. Them and Bowling Green are the 2 by far best teams in the region.
Yeah,
but you know, Barron's not way out of it.
No, they showed last year they can compete. They have the players to compete right now, and this is their window of opportunity because they do have several seniors. They lost, 2, I think, or so from last year. They do have several seniors on this team that have been critical to them being as close as they are to Greenwood. So this is kind of their moment that they need to try to seize.
Right, you got to win tonight, and then see what happens.
Yeah.
Listen, they're not the favorite. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it'd be a monumental upset.
Yeah.
For Barron to win, but I'm just telling you, it's not. The gap is not like it used to be. Yeah.
Used to, it was
10-0.
We're gonna play sag defense and try to limit them to as many scores as possible.
It may not be 10-0, but it'd be something 0.
Yeah,
because we couldn't score.
Yeah, there was no offense.
That's correct.
It was all defense.
But Barron has increased their schedule, and I think it's really helped them.
Oh yeah,
they played They played Bowling Green. They played the really good schools now, so they should not be intimidated like they, maybe they were 5-10 years ago.
Right. Let's talk about the boys real quick because we had in the first round, I think I was talking to somebody.
The best first round game was Glasgow-Russellville.
Yes, it was. And I was talking to some folks, some of the officials, and they thought of all the games being played in the first round, that would be the best game. Now, I think the Barron-Franklin game tonight could be an interesting game if talking about coming up with something. We'll get that in just a minute. So But Russellville and Glasgow had played twice before. The first one really counted. That was in the All-A regional final. I say really counted because Glasgow had all but, I think, one of their players there. They may have been missing 2 for that game. And Russellville had all of their players there. It went to PKs. Russellville won the game in PKs. And, I think Glasgow actually learned something from that game looking back on it because
they learned how good Coach Fleener's son is.
Well, yeah, and Avery Fleener is good. For those who don't know, he's Bart Fleener's son, who used to be he's a Caverna graduate and used to be the boys basketball coach at Glasgow many moons ago.
Yeah,
back when Brandon Stockton was Mr. Basketball.
And Avery's got grandparents around here, and uncles, aunts, and things like that.
Yeah. I saw his Uncle Alan over at the game
right.
wearing a Russellville hat.
Right.
Probably the first and last time. But anyway, so yeah, he's really good. He was really good in the first game. He was really good again last night.
Top 5 in the state in scoring, I believe.
Yeah, and he's legitimately good. He's a good athlete, good with the ball at his feet. And I tell you, going left or right firing a shot, it's hard to stop him because he gets power and he can go opposite side on you with that power.
Yep.
And that's the most difficult thing really for a goalie to deal with is shifting to try to cover the side that's the short side,
right.
and then being able to get back and make a diving save or whatever. Meanwhile, Quentin Grisha, the goalie for Glasgow, who took over for Seth Medford as the season went along, he made a lot of great saves during the course of that game last night to keep it 3-3. I would say that Russellville's goalie made a lot of great saves as well because in the second half, Glasgow really started to dominate the game. Their ability to move the ball and that kind of thing started setting them up with some good opportunities, but he made some great saves. And Glasgow missed a couple they missed a couple of game winners probably in the last minute. I think one hit the crossbar, went down, and then bounced out instead of in. That would have ended the game right there. So then they went to the overtime. And
overtime is just regular play, right?
Yeah, they play 2 5-minute quarters, but it is a golden goal in high school.
If you score, you win.
Yeah, if you score, you win. So they went through that. Nobody got a goal. They went to the PKs. The last time Glasgow had a couple of guys, I think the pressure got to them, and they missed a couple of kicks in the PKs, and that's how they ended up losing the game. Last night, that was not the case. They hit 4 or 5 of the goals. The one they didn't hit was a save by the goalie. It wasn't a miss. Quentin Grisha made a great save on a shot in the PKs, and I think he tipped the last one. I got the video, but in the video, I can't really tell. It looks like he actually tipped it and it hit the crossbar.
Yeah, it looked like it to me, too.
Yeah, so, he made some great plays there on the PKs, and Glasgow got the win. And the game was... the game was all of the fun that you'd want to see in a high school soccer game.
Right,
really.
and it was evenly matched. And in so many of the soccer games, when you get to the regional tournament, it's not evenly matched.
Yeah.
This was evenly matched.
Yeah.
And both teams are good teams. They're not elite. But they are good teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a good win for Glasgow. Really good win, and beat a solid Russellville team. So that's, like you said, that is what it's all about right there. And they move on, and I think they play
South Warren on Wednesday.
South Warren. That'd be a tall task.
Yeah.
But Glasgow's another team, though, like I talked about Barren County girls, they have played a schedule, too, where they should not fear South Warren because he doesn't run them from these schools either.
No, he plays them, and the two, he played Warren Central and Bowling Green in the preseason. Yeah, that was their preseason games.
Right.
So, he tries to schedule the toughest schedule he can put together these days. And to be honest with you, that game last night was the first game he's had all of his actual players at the game, either because of COVID protocols or injuries or, just whatever else has gone on. That was the first game, and it really, I think in the first half you could tell it. It took them a little while to kind of get themselves together, playing together. And like I said, in the second half, you slowly saw them take control of the game. It's just that they weren't able to hit those goals there.
Congratulations. That's a good win.
It is, and it will be a tall task for them to beat South Warren. But at the same time, they've actually beaten South Warren before in the regional tournament. So Glasgow has gotten there. These kids have been in the program now long enough to know that they can do these things. Now let's get to this Barren County Franklin Simpson game because I think a lot of people think Franklin's...
First of all, it's today at 5, is that right?
It's at 5:30 at South Warren. Yeah, I'm going to get there as fast as I can without getting a speeding ticket.
5:30 at South Warren.
So Franklin Simpson ended up beating Russellville, I think 4-2 in their district final, the 13th district. Franklin Simpson, now that's a team Glasgow beat 2-0 early in the season. And as we talked about before, sometimes you don't know, what these scores mean at all because you don't know who was there and who wasn't there.
Correct.
Coach Mung for Glasgow, he feels like Franklin Simpson's a really good team. And they usually are a pretty good team. But I do believe
they're a tier away from the Bowling Green.
Yeah, they're
South
right
Warren.
there.
Yep.
Glasgow, Franklin Simpson,
right.
Russellville this year. They're right there at that next level. And I think Barron has the opportunity to get there. As long as you have Aiden Eichen on the field and you can get him scoring opportunities, you have a chance to beat pretty much anybody.
Right. But you got to defend.
Yeah, but you got to defend, and that's been their bugaboo this year because they lost 9 seniors from last year. He's been working on the defense all year and working on the midfield because that's kind of where the game's won and lost, really.
That's where possession is won.
Yeah. If you can't control the ball at the midfield or you make a mistake there, that's what usually opens up an opportunity scoring-wise for the other team.
Yeah.
And takes away your offensive opportunities,
Right.
So it's kind of hard for you to get Aiden the ball if you can't control that midfield. So those are the things that Coach Mercer's been working on all year, and I feel like they've improved as the year's gone along.
Well, they got an opportunity.
Yep.
It would be an upset. Franklin will be a favorite, but they're not an overwhelming favorite.
Yeah. So, I think that's going to be a pretty good game, and, I look forward to it. I'll get there. It's at 5:30.
It's a long way to get to South Warren. Of all the Bowling Green schools, that's the toughest one.
Yeah, it tells me it's 44 minutes. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what that looks like.
Several red lights on that road.
Yeah. Well, and you'll have that 5 o'clock traffic
Yep.
headed out that direction by the time I get over there.
That's
so I probably won't make it by 5:30.
You will not.
No.
You'd be lucky to get there by 6.
Yeah, I will be. And then the girls play at 8 o'clock over at Bowling Green Junior High School like we were talking about.
Right.
Anything else about the soccer that you can think of?
Wish them the best of luck, both schools.
Yep. Winners. The girls' winners will play tomorrow, and then the boys' winners play Wednesday.
That's right.
All right. It's a Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Well, John, let's talk a little bit about some college football.
All right.
And we're going to start off with the good news for the teams in our state. We'll start off with Kentucky's. Well, I've asked you this every week, so let me start here. Were you impressed with Kentucky's win over
Absolutely.
LSU?
No, yes. 6-0.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Their best win of the year, and the quarterback played his best game.
Yeah.
I mean, they physically just wore out LSU. I mean, this is almost like a flip of traditional LSU. LSU is in trouble.
Yes.
I think their coach is in major trouble.
Coach O, yes, he's in trouble.
He's in major trouble. But Kentucky is I've said all year, their offensive line is, they've got NFL dudes on the NFL line. And Chris Rodriguez is an NFL running back. Mm-hmm. They just mash people. And then you add Robinson, who's an NFL player as a receiver. The only question in my mind is offensively was at the quarterback, and he played fantastic. I think the question is how well can he play when a team takes away the running of it?
Yeah.
And maybe nobody can.
And, we
I
might
think
see that this coming
Georgia,
Saturday.
Georgia probably can. So can he make plays that way? That's my only question because defensively, Stoops' teams are always good defensively. I think they got cheated on their ranking.
Mm-hmm. What are they, 11?
11.
Yeah.
I think they deserve more than 11. I would put them, I think they're in that 7, 8, 9 range personally. But they got an unbelievable opportunity. Mm-hmm. They've knocked off Florida and LSU back-to-back, both home games, okay? Yeah. But they're SEC wins, undefeated, and they get to play number 1 ranked Georgia on national. They get the primetime 3:30 CBS game against Georgia. You cannot get a better opportunity than that.
No, and it will be interesting because I could all but guarantee you Georgia will take away the running game. They've taken pretty much anybody they've played, they take away whatever you want to try to do.
Georgia's the best defensive team in the country.
Yeah. And so no one's really they're in that mold of whatever you want to do, we will stop. Can you beat us with something else?
Right, where everybody else is scoring tons of points. You don't score against Georgia much.
No.
So, it will be Kentucky can go down there and play well and lose. In fact, they need to play well because they need to, if you go down there and lose, 24-20 to the number 1 team in the nation, that ranking from 11 is not going to fall.
No.
If it does fall, again, they're getting gypped because they're Kentucky.
Right.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
I mean, Alabama goes from 1 to 5, and they lose to an unranked team. Mm-hmm. If that was somebody else, they would have thrown them all the way down to 14.
It'd be like 17.
That's
so.
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I felt like Kentucky. I felt like the win over Florida was an impressive win, but like we talked about
that was
last
a statement
week,
win.
It was a statement win in the sense that they beat Florida at home for the first time in like 30 years.
And Florida's good.
Florida is good.
I don't know how good LSU is. I'll be honest with you. I'm not. I mean, I think they got some good skilled players on the outside, but I don't know how overall good they are.
Yeah.
I mean, Auburn beat them at LSU, and I don't think Auburn's that great.
No. Well, I mean, to that point, I mean, Bo Nix looked good against LSU. He did not look good this past weekend.
Right, against Georgia. Right.
Yeah, against Georgia.
But still, congrats. I mean, Kentucky's in an unbelievable situation.
Yeah, you want to talk about controlling your own destiny?
Yes.
They certainly do.
They're controlling
a lot of people's destinies.
They're moving up to potential playoff possibilities.
Yeah.
I mean, you hate to jump ahead, but they're 6-0.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
it'll put you up there.
Yeah, it will. Meanwhile, I think all Cardinals fans are ready to run Satterfield out of town on a rail.
He's taking a lot of heat.
He is.
He is. He's taking a ton of heat. In fairness, they've lost back-to-back games at the buzzer. Mm-hmm. They lost to a ranked Wake Forest team, undefeated Wake Forest the week before on a field goal at the buzzer, 22 seconds left. Beat them.
Yeah.
And this week they dominated Virginia. They were up 30-14 going into the fourth quarter.
I believe that's the part, though, that really has people on his case.
That's exactly right. And they lost the lead. It seemed like they got tight, or not tight, conservative in the play calls. Mm-hmm. And then defensively, they let that Virginia quarterback throw for 480 yards. He rushed 3 people the entire fourth quarter, and he just – I think he wore them down, to be honest with you. You get tired of rushing just 3.
Yeah.
And Virginia takes the lead, and in fairness, all this would have been wiped away. Louisville does. They get the ball 33 seconds to go, and they get a 49-yard field goal. I mean, the quarterback makes a couple plays, and he missed it.
Yeah.
It's not a gimme 49, but it's makeable. I mean, you're a Division I kicker. I mean, you probably should make those, to be honest with you. So, but he's taken an incredible amount. It all goes back to his flirtations with South Carolina, and that irritated people. And didn't have a very good year last year. He had a really good first year. Mm-hmm. And now when you give up 2 big leads, Louisville should be 5-1.
Yes.
And they're 3-3 and almost lost to Florida State, but outgave that game away when they was up 27-0. And so it appears to maybe there's some coaching issues that you can't play with the league, with the lead and things like that. And that's going to prop up.
Yeah,
and it doesn't help from a Louisville perspective that Kentucky is 6-0. And not only 6-0, of course, they're going to get to play each other, but is dominating the state in terms of recruiting.
Yes. Yeah, it's all things are going sideways for Satterfield and the Cardinals in terms of down the road.
But they're close.
Yeah, they're
playing pretty daggone well.
Yeah, they're close, but they're close in the way that cost you your job.
Yes.
I mean, because it would be different if people looked at them and said, look, they're playing above their talent level. They're getting in these holes and they're coming back and they're winning some and losing some. No, they're the other way around.
You're right.
They are building these leads and then squandering them and losing some and winning some.
Yes.
So anyway, that's the kind of a much worse position to be in than just having no talent and saying, hey, look, I'm recruiting well.
Right.
So anyway, and then meanwhile, WKU struggled defensively to stop UTSA.
It's a tough loss.
Yeah,
it's a bad loss.
52-46.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a tough loss. UTSA is that the problem with Conference USA is if you lose to UTSA, people go, first of all, who is UTSA?
Yeah, the what? The Roadrunners?
Who is that?
Yeah.
And number 2, are they any good?
Yeah.
And they are good.
They are. They are good offensively.
They are good offensively. I think, what are they, 5-1, something like that?
Yeah, I believe that's
correct. So they are good. But after you
actually, they're undefeated.
After you get beat in a close one to Army.
Yes.
Battle all the way back, get beat by 7. Mm-hmm. After you should have beaten Indiana, lose 33-31. You get beat at Michigan State, make it respectable. You almost expect after those 3 in a row that you're going to win this game.
Yeah.
And Western's problem, it's been a consistent problem, is they get behind.
Yep.
They make great rallies and then get beat. You would like to think you'd come back and beat UTSA, but it's hard to win when you're giving up 57 points.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I was listening to Tyler Eaton on Red Towel Radio, which plays over in Bowling Green, and he does some of the broadcasts for the WKU football games and that kind of stuff. And his point was, this week they could not start the game in a hole because they needed to the reason they couldn't start in a hole was twofold. One is it's just hard to keep coming back on people, and the other was they really had the better team, but if they start in a hole, they give UTSA that belief that they can win the game.
Takes the crowd out of it, too.
Yeah, and so now they're down, I think it was 17-7, I think was the score in the early in the second quarter, maybe it was. And, now UTSA is in control of the game.
Well, the good news is they're fun to watch, and they have not been fun.
Yeah,
and
true, the last couple of years.
I mean, last year they were not all that fun, and before Helton came in for the couple of years, they weren't a lot of fun either. So they're fun to watch because they're offensively tremendous to watch. Mm-hmm. Throw it around every which way and so forth. So they make a lot of plays, but it's a little frustrating and it's disappointing now. Mm-hmm. Listen, nobody before the year is going to think you're going to beat Indiana or Michigan State.
No.
Okay. Probably most people who know a lot about football, not a real good matchup against Army.
Right.
But you think you probably should, if you compete against those, knock off.
You should run the table and see USA probably.
Well, at least knock off at home that team.
Yeah.
Right. But, it's it happened. And in fairness, tough time on the schedule. Mm-hmm. And I know you don't have the opportunity to set your schedule in college exactly how you want to.
Yeah.
But it's a real difficult deal to play back to back to back Indiana, then go to Michigan State, and then have UTSA without any buys or anything like it. I'm just saying emotionally.
Yeah.
Indiana and Michigan State are bigger games to, I guarantee, most of the players.
Yeah.
Because they're Big Ten, than a conference game. And you can sell this is a conference game. We've got to win this conference game. The conference game, I know the talk. I've heard it 1,000 times. The coach is going to say, these are conference games, the real season starting.
Yeah.
And most of those players, I guarantee, are thinking, no, that I came here to play Michigan State and Indiana.
Well, I do wonder if they have so many transfers in who are on the offense and that kind of stuff, and
so
probably on
defense,
the defense
from Power 5 conferences.
Yeah,
now.
that they didn't take that game. I'm not saying they didn't take it seriously, but to your point, they viewed that game differently than they did the games against the Big Ten teams.
I guarantee you.
Also, though, on a couple of things. One is, I would say this about WKU: they need to not lose another game. If they want, I'm not saying they can't play in a bowl. They will if they lose another game, but they really can't lose another game in Conference USA and play in the kind of bowl that
what are they? Are they 1-4?
Yeah. So they really need to run the table. That's 7 games left. They need to finish 8-4.
Because the first win wasn't even against a.
It wasn't a bowl eligible team. They beat UT Martin.
Right.
So they need to run the table to get in the kind of bowl that they projected they wanted to be into.
Well, they need a bye week. Is this a bye week for them?
Don't think so. I think the next week is.
All right.
So there's that. On the upside, Dalvin Smith caught another touchdown pass.
That's 2.
Nice little route, too. Caught it, ran through a would-be tackler to get in the end zone. Looked good. So his health is a great thing to see him get out there and play.
Absolutely.
One last thing I want to talk about real quick before we get out of here for this segment is I went down to – I did something I'd never done before on Friday night, John. I covered a football game in the state of Tennessee.
Well, is it different?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I've been to Red Bowling Springs before.
They still play. It's 100 yards. Officials still have stripes.
Yes, and I believe it was 100 yards. It was on the side of a mountain.
Same basic rules.
I will say this: their field was more level than Russell's.
Okay, all right.
So, even though it was on the side of a mountain, yeah. So it was nice. It was nice. Caverna went down there. They ended up losing the game. I think 42-34 before it was all said and done. It was. The folks down there were really nice. There was a lot of good sportsmanship between the players. It was a nice Friday night, to be honest with you. Outside the fact that Caverna didn't win, but they got it. Caverna's got a couple of kids. Cameron Buchanan, who plays quarterback. He's an electric athlete. I think I told you about him during basketball season last year. And then Caleb Edwards he's not very big, but he's one of the toughest kids I've seen on a football field.
Good.
And now. Cameron plays defense some. He mainly plays offense. Caleb Edwards, I think, does not come off the field. And so, those guys are a lot of fun to watch. They have won 3 games this year, which is the most they've won in a while.
Sure is.
They're doing that non-district schedule thing, trying to get the numbers up in their program. We've seen some other programs do this through the years, and maybe that helps out. And then, real quick, we got a couple of big games this coming Friday. Barren is hosting North Hardin. That's a big game after they picked up beat Central Hardin last week, 2 weeks ago now, almost. So that's a big district game for Barren County. They are another team that's in control of their destiny. They could do something they haven't done in a while.
They have played extremely well against North Hardin. They've been close games.
Yep.
Everybody thinks North Hardin is just will blow out Barren with their speed. And they've had Division I players, and the games have been incredibly close.
Yeah. And then Glasgow and Taylor County will play Friday night at Glasgow.
It's turned into two schools that never played each other has turned into a kind of a heated rivalry in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it has. It's a lot of fun to watch them play. Right now, the winner of that game is in the driver's seat to have the top seed in the district, and there are 5 teams in that district.
And they're going to play each other again.
And they'll play each other again, probably in that regional round.
That's right. That's why I don't know how important it is.
It proved last year not to be.
That's correct.
And
I call it a vanilla game. If I was coaching, it'd be vanilla.
Yeah.
In terms of, I don't think I'm not going to use flea flickers or anything. Rather, I'm going to play very basic.
Yeah.
And just kind of see how it goes.
Yeah.
I want to win. Don't get me wrong. I want to win.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to show things on film that I may want to save later.
Yeah. And both
you
these
can do
teams,
that if you're confident you're going to face them again.
Yeah.
And I'm confident the same 2 teams are going to play again in this district.
Yeah, so it'll be an interesting game, and I'm with you. I think the winning of the game will be about pride. Both of them only have 1 loss as well, so I mean it's a big game in that sense as well. Momentum maybe and that kind of thing, but in terms of getting to see each other again, no, not that big of a game. We'll see. All right, it's Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Well, John, the Major League Baseball playoffs are underway, and I got a question for you.
All right.
Are you surprised by the Red Sox?
No.
You're not surprised by the Red Sox?
No. Inter conference, interdivision, I'm sorry. Tampa, New York, Boston. They've played each other 1,000 times. No, I'm not surprised at all. Tampa won the division.
Yeah.
But
wasn't a big gap.
Wasn't a big gap. And, am I surprised that the Red Sox beat Tampa? No, I wouldn't be surprised either way. Red Sox can flat hit. Tampa has really good pitching, but they don't have a dominant pitcher, anything like that. So, no, it doesn't surprise me. And I think I think Tampa will win the next game, and it'll go, to the 5th and deciding game.
Yeah, there were supposed to be 4 games today, but the White Sox-Astros game got moved to tomorrow.
Rained out.
Yeah, rained out today.
Atlanta's already won.
Yep. So, and what are they up? 2-1 in that series?
2-1, yep.
Do the Braves surprise you?
No, they do not. It would surprise me if they won the National League series. It would surprise me. I think San Francisco and the Dodgers are the best teams.
Yeah, the 2 best teams seemingly are playing each other right now.
Yeah, I don't like how that. They need to fix that. Where both teams. I think San Francisco won 106 games.
Mm-hmm.
LA won 105. It's an insane amount. They have to play each other in a. Not even in the division finals.
Yeah, because one of them, because of the wild card situation, one of them ended up in the wild card play-in game.
Right.
And then one of them is the 1 seed, so you wind up as a 4 seed just because you were in the wild card.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But that's a heck of a series. That's tied 1-1.
Yeah, that I don't know, who's going to win out of the American League, but it feels like unless something strange happens, the National League winner is playing in that series right now. It's going to be the Giants or the Dodgers.
I would think, but Atlanta has got a lot of good young players. They've had a ton of injuries.
Yeah.
Their whole outfield's been wiped away.
Mm-hmm.
But they got almost like a free pass this year. They got nothing to lose.
Yeah, it's true.
But I'll tell you, Houston's good. They're really good. They got a lot of experience, and of course, they've World Series champions. Though they've taken a lot of heat for that, because some of the cheating scandal. But now it's 2 years removed. They've got good players too.
Yeah, the thing about the cheating scandal is the Astros were good enough to be world champions then. It's just that they had some people who decided they wanted to take some shortcuts or, do some things the wrong way. It's not that they weren't talented enough at the time. They certainly were. And they are still just as talented 2 years later as they were then.
Right.
So it's kind of like they have a stain on their record because of stupid decisions, not because they weren't good enough.
Right. And I don't really like the White Sox all that much, but everybody else I kind of like. I mean, I never was a Dodger fan because growing up I was a Reds fan. Back when Pete Rosen was playing, the Dodgers were in the same division.
Yeah.
But I like how the Dodgers play. For some reason, I just like their team. I like Turner at third base. I love Mookie Betts. Mm-hmm. I just like their team, even though there's a high-priced team. But I like them. But I also like the Giants because it's hard to pick out two people from the Giants. So, one of them is a Chicago transfer, Chris
Bryant. Get arrested.
I mean, Posey the catcher and Chris Bryant are about the only two.
Yeah,
you couldn't pick them out if they walked through the studio.
Right.
But they won 107 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rather amazing kind of setup. Major League Baseball is kind of interesting at the moment in the sense you mentioned the Dodgers being a high-priced team, and there are teams that have gone that route. We're going to buy all the best players.
And then you have Tampa.
Yeah, then you have the couple of other teams that are
Tampa's very low priced.
Yeah, I mean, and the Braves have kind of gone, it looks like, the way of Tampa, at least in terms of trying to build up through younger players. Now, they are spending money,
right?
But they're not just necessarily going out on the free agent market.
Of course, Tampa has a local connection, too.
Yeah.
Bowling Green, their farm team. There's players that are on Tampa's roster that play down here in Bowling Green.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of neat.
It is.
To see that kind of situation. You mentioned that you like the Dodgers, but is there a team that you are rooting for?
I don't know. I mean, I go back and forth. Not really. I hope Atlanta beats Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I'm split on the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. I like the Dodgers, but I like the Giants.
Yeah.
I'm for the Red Sox.
Yeah. I would guess I would say I'm rooting for the Braves for a couple of reasons. One is pretty much all of the men in my life and some of the women in my life have been Braves fans throughout my life because, we could get them on local TV, so to speak.
I'm same way. I was the same way. I watched a ton of Braves games.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's how they all became Braves fans. And so
I like Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, yep. And I've always just kind of liked their organization in terms, going way back, going back 30 years, whenever they were I guess the equivalent of a small ball team. I mean, basically they had great pitchers, and they didn't always necessarily have great hitters.
No, they did not.
But they managed to scrap around and win games. And I mean, they ended up only winning the one World Series during that run, 30 years ago. But can you believe that it's been 30 years? Anyway, makes me feel old.
Yeah, well, we are.
But yeah, I mean, it is nice. I guess I still reflect on how they competed then and made it to the World Series, won the World Series. It was the kind of baseball that I actually enjoy. I've never been a big fan of the home run derby baseball. I've kind of liked the hit and run and scrappy baseball above all other kind of baseball. So that's not exactly how they are now, but
they hit their fair share of homers.
Yeah, they surely do. Well, I mean, these days, I mean, that's kind of the way you're going to have to win.
Most teams will play that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you don't see a lot of that scrappy baseball. But I guess historically speaking, I have that bit of affection for
nostalgia.
For the Atlanta team and how they've done things. But yeah, I suppose I'm rooting for them. Plus, they weren't supposed to be here this year.
And they overcame a lot this year.
Yeah, and so I kind of like that aspect too.
But neither was San Francisco.
Well, that is true. I mean,
they weren't even projected to win, I think, 75 games.
Yeah, they are the biggest surprise by the time you get to the end of the season.
The only difference is they have won 3 World Series in the last 15 years.
Yes, that they have been. Other than a couple of blips, they've been one of those teams.
All odd years too.
Yeah,
it's 2021.
Oh, so you think this is the year, huh? Could be.
Karma.
All right, this is Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be back next week.
Thanks for listening, and be sure and join James and John once again next Monday at 4 for the Brown Sports Bag, a local weekly sports machine presented by McDonald's of Glasgow.
Coming soon to your FM dial, this is Fox Sports Radio, WCDS Glasgow, AM 1230.